Welcome back to another AriasWave video. My name is Mike and we're looking at Avalanche. So the AVAX pattern to me is very interesting because, well, like a lot of altcoins, they follow Bitcoin's major pattern. But the thing is that I haven't really had a proper grasp on Bitcoin's major pattern, I will admit, until now. So now that I feel that I have a better grasp on the larger pattern, I feel like I have an understanding of what this is doing now. So for me to make a proper informed decision to make a trade based on some kind of logic, I need to understand the Bitcoin pattern. So how do you basically put this into context in terms of the Bitcoin pattern? Well, my latest market update, I showed you what I believe the Bitcoin pattern to be. And this is now become a reflection to me of what that pattern is. And it's basically a D wave. The D wave here probably won't make a new all-time high. It might double top this market. It might just touch above it. Who knows? The point is not really that. It's going to be a measured move from the end of E wave, right? So the E wave for the B wave of a zigzag, I believe that's coming to an end very soon. We're almost there, not quite there yet, right? At the lows, I think we're in a wave 4 of the 5-wave move for E. I think there's an A, B, C pattern happening here. We're going to see a D, E, and then the final low before we make a nice move up. So now my focus is probably going to switch to coins that haven't made good impulsive moves to finish off their pattern yet, because they're going to be a lot easier to read than Bitcoin's current garbled nonsense in a correction that it's in. So I think that this here has a good chance of giving you a measured move once the move completes with a stop at the lows. To be honest with you, that's probably the easiest way to put it at this point. I will touch on the Bitcoin pattern in a moment just to highlight why I think that's true. Now, and we're using the Bitcoin pattern for context, because how can you use something with data going back to just 2020 in order to try and figure out what the hell this is, right? You've got a 5-wave move, a 5-wave move, a 5-wave move, right? That's part of a larger pattern. There's no real, doesn't make any sense, right? On its own, right? I don't know how you could use this as a guide on its own. You'd probably say, oh, but hang on, most people trade zigzags in a market, so you'd expect that you'd get the same move as this to be basically replicated up here like that. I don't believe that's the case here. It would be nice if Avalanche went to $1,500. It would be great, but I just don't see it happening with this current setup. So let me go to the Bitcoin pattern for a moment. I'll touch on the BLX one because that's the one that gives the most accurate depiction of what I'm trying to say here. So I'll go to the BTC chart in a moment, but we had, okay, so here in 2017, I put a wave 3, but quite frankly, this could be a wave 1, okay? The corrective pattern in a market is the same for wave 2, wave 4, and wave B of a zigzag, right? So let me just explain that to you real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the 2 and the 4, you have an AriasWave pattern, right? And that pattern for a bullish move, the counter trend is A, B, C, D, and then E, right? So basically where Bitcoin is now is at the end of the D wave, right? We're going to get an E wave down. How low does it go? We don't know. It could go very low. It could go 50% of the move up since the beginning. It could go to the end of wave 1, right? It could. If this is a wave 1, which you'd probably want to hope it is, rather than a wave 3. So in that case, you're looking at $20,000 roughly. But that's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point I'm trying to make here, if this is correct, then you have to understand that this is a D wave, right? And I'll explain to you why I believe this is a D wave, and it's all about the subdivisions, right? And this is why I'm making this update on AVAX now. I'm going to start doing this across all altcoins, is because I strongly believe this is the correct count, right? Now, if you look closely, you could see that here we had a 5-wave move followed by an A, B, a C, a D, and this is an E, right? You can see zigzag 1, 2, zigzag 3, sharp 4, and a 5. So sharp 4 is alternation with wave 2, right? In here, you can see that this is not a 5-wave move. It just isn't, right? The sharpest part should be in the middle. It's actually a correction because it's a sharp zigzag up. This is a zigzag here for wave B. The wave C is longer than the wave A, right? These type of things, right? So this is an expanded type 2 zigzag, in my opinion, because this is where a wave D would be in a correction. So obviously with all the institutional buying and Michael Saylors of the world with Bitcoin, well, basically this has expanded to look like a 5-wave move. Now, at this point, I think that we're getting ready to roll over. We've seen wave 1 and we're going to see a correction. So the corrective processes within this wave 2 pullback is enough to complete the wave D in AVAX. That's my view, that's my opinion. We're going to find out. But if you look at the pattern on its own for AVAX, it makes total sense that it'd be following Bitcoin. But it's not, it didn't have enough energy or buying pressure to create the same kind of pattern that Bitcoin did. But it doesn't mean that it still won't complete the same pattern, just at a smaller level, a smaller size wave D. So I think that this is a good opportunity to go long on AVAX once we see this completed. Could it potentially create a 90% correction or 0.886 correction? I think it might. I think there's a good chance that it would or that it will. Then you could go long on this move as well, right? And this is amazing because there's a reason for the trade. There's a reason, there's context behind it. Because if you're going to go long on AVAX, why would you do that? What is your reasoning? What is your target? See, I would only be targeting $78, maybe $80, and it would potentially give you a gain of, about 500%, right? Which is fairly reasonable for a crypto. So I think that this is on the cards. I'm going to be paying attention to this one because it looks like an easy setup, and I'll be posting on other altcoins that I believe have some similarity or make sense compared to the larger, pattern for Bitcoin. But obviously for a coin that doesn't have that much history, and you might want to trade it for some kind of profit, right? After that, it will go lower. I don't know how low it will go. There's no telling. We're just going to have to find out. But for now, that's all I got on this one. Thanks for watching.